Let me tell you about St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis was born into wealth, a really wealthy family, and he dreamed of having some glorious career as a knight. After a long journey of failure, of illness, and hearing Christ's call, he gave up everything to live a life of radical service. Francis dressed simply, he cared for lepers, he rebuilt ruined chapels, and preached the gospel every day in marketplaces, anyone who would listen. And Francis said, "I have been all things unholy. If God can work through me, he can work through anyone. I have been all things unholy. If God can work through me," said St. Francis of Assisi, "he can work through anyone." What stands out about Francis is that he didn't separate serving people from sharing the gospel. His life of humble service became the very thing that made the message of Christ believable. And that's what our covenant promise of service is all about. We're created to serve others, to witness to Christ in word and deed, to share the gospel, to be the gospel, to be good news here in Haywards Heath. Service is not a hobby for keen Christians. It is the shape of a Christian life, because it is the shape of Jesus's life. In John chapter 13, we have this fascinating story. The night before Jesus goes to the cross, there's a lot of text covering that one evening. But in John chapter 13, Jesus does something really quite shocking. He takes off an outer garment when everyone gathers around the dinner table. He takes off his outer garment, wraps a towel around his waist like a servant, and then proceeds to wash his disciples' feet, which was literally the task of the most low-ranking servant, not the task of a master. Now, Peter protests. He says, this all feels wrong. And Jesus insists with these words, "I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet. You should also wash one another's feet." Let's notice for a moment verse 3. John, when he's recounting this story, maybe 50 years later, John says, Jesus knew the Father had put all things under his power. Jesus was so utterly secure in who he was, so secure that he could stoop to serve. And he even washed Judas's feet, knowing what was about to happen, maybe 24 hours later. This is the heart of Christian service. It flows from security in our own identity. It breaks down pride and fear and points people to the gospel. That's the point of it. So when we come to think about service, first we serve in church. We serve in the body. Every act of service, no matter how small, is a part of building up Christ's church. And maybe it's welcoming at the front door, maybe making coffee, teaching the Sunday school, or setting up chairs, or leading something from the front. But service is not just about filling gaps in a rota. It's about love in action. It's about blessing someone else, lightening someone else's load. And just this one for free. Just because something is being done well doesn't mean that the person who's currently doing it wouldn't value some more help. And when each part does its work, the whole body grows. So we serve in the body, but we also serve in our community, our local mission, if you like. Jesus said, "Let your light shine before others, they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Serving our neighbours with compassion is one of the most powerful ways we can make the gospel visible. To you, that might look like volunteering at school, or coaching a sports team, or supporting a local charity, or simply being attentive to the needs of those around you. Because service opens doors for the gospel to break in. It opens doors for conversations about Jesus, because it shows people what his love looks like in practice. It makes people ask us, what is the reason for the hope that you have? So we serve in the church, we serve in the community, but we're called as well to serve the nations. We serve globally. Psalm 96 calls us to declare God's glory among the nations. And that is going to mean praying regularly for our mission partners. It's going to mean as a church supporting them financially. And maybe it's going to mean being open to go and to practically do something with them yourself. When we serve beyond our comfort zones, whether it's locally or globally or whatever, we discover that God's kingdom is so much bigger than our own patch. Serving the nations is not just about a few who go overseas. It's about every believer playing their part in God's global mission. So as we step into this covenant together, let's be a serving people, serving one another in the church, serving our neighbours in community, and serving God's mission to the nations. Like Francis of Assisi, may we discover that humble service not only blesses others, but also makes the gospel tangible. And we may find joy in Jesus' promise. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them.